Hello students. So today we will be doing the visualization lab, visualization with Hive and R. So we are going to use R for the visualization, and we are going to see how do we connect to Hadoop system via the Hive and do the visualization. So before we start, you may want to know how to download the machine. So let's go ahead and do that. So we don't want to, I just want to show you the link where the you'll find the machine. So the link is GitHub link, www.github.com/It is labs/it is labs. So this link should give you the link to the machine itself. So let's see where the visualization link is. So here you see there is a link for visualization. So let's paste it over here, and this should take you to the folder, and there are 11 files, right? So you basically, one machine file has been split into 11 files. So you need to download these files and then stitch it back into one file. Okay, so once you download it, so let's come out of here. Once you download it, you'll get something like this, right? So these are the only files which should exist in the folder. So the way you stitch it back or you combine the file is you use 7-zip. So you go ahead and open 7-zip. So go to that folder wherever these files are. So I press Ctrl+C and paste it in the address bar over here, and you see the files. Now if you right click on the first file and click combine, it will actually try to combine. It is asking you where to write the output to. So for the time being, I'll create a temporary folder. I'll create a new folder so that it can just to show you. So here we are going to copy our combined file, so it will combine everything. So now when I click OK, it will try to combine the files. So I will not go ahead with this process because it's a long process and not required. I already have the combined file. So let me pause it and cancel it, but I will nevertheless show you there's a test folder and something it has created. It has already started writing for 91 MB. So but the actual size of the file is, when it is combines everything, it is like almost like 10.5 GB. So you require that much size, big file. So once you have this kind of file, once you have created this kind of file, you can open your VirtualBox and click File, Import Appliance, and go to that folder wherever that file is. So in my case, it is on G:\lab, and we have visualization, and then you select this file and import it. So once you import it, it will ask you where to save the machine. So in my case, I'm saving it to G drive because you require at least 50 GB, 20 to 50 GB, to run this machine. So you need to have that much space on your machine. So I'm chosen the G drive. So once I click finish, it will try to copy the machine and import the machine, and the machine will be created in G drive somewhere, wherever I have mentioned. So let this machine get imported. So everything is installed in the as part of the software. So let us look at the instruction. What are the while this is getting imported, we will let us go to another link, which is bit.ly/tcoe student. So I go over here and I click BDA. So in the lab you should find the visualization. There is a separate file for visualization, but you don't want to use that because it has got installation instructions. how to install Hive and so forth. We don't want to do that. We just want to execute all the steps. So here, let us understand what we are doing in this lab before we actually do the lab. Because if you understand what we are going to do in the lab, it is also going to help you in your Viva, and it will also going to help you perform your lab. Okay, so here is my lab. Let me zoom it up a bit. So what all softwares have been installed in this box? Hadoop has been installed because we are testing visualizing the data in Hadoop, right? That is the main main relevant software which is connected to your big data analytics. So your Hadoop is used for storing and processing big data. So this is where all your data is there, and then you want to visualize. You want to see, okay, let's say you have collected all the the news of the world in Hadoop, and now you want to visualize something. How many news article has come through. You want to do some processing like word count, and see which are the words that was maximum repeated, and look at it in the form of a graph. So when you say visualization, you can think of graphs, like a bar graph, line graph. So we want to visualize it. That is more appealing, and more useful for especially for the management. So let's say the sales is happening all over the countries. You collect all the data into Hadoop, and as it is getting collected, you visualize in RStudio. But the thing is, how do you visualize? How do you get the data? So Hive is your interface. Okay, so that is the software we are using. So let us draw a diagram, a simple diagram, just to understand how this architecture is working. So here you have your Hadoop, right? And inside this Hadoop, definitely there is a component. The core components are your HDFS, which stores the data, right? So let us draw one small box HDFS. So all your files are stored in this, and then you have a processing component, a parallel processing component called MapReduce, which takes every task and divides it into many subtasks and parallelly executes it. Excuse me. Okay, so this is where all your database data is there, right? And data storage. So this is where data storage happens. So you already know it's like your hard disk, and it's also like your file explorer, which stores your it's a file system. And this is where data processing happens, right? Now in order to access, what we need actually is, we want to visualize this data actually. So we want to visualize this data. And so when you say visualize the data, maybe I want to see a bar graph, something like that. So let us put something like this, a bar graph, which a graph which depicts something. Now where is the data coming from? So, and that is where we want to, so this lab is more about Hadoop visualization than visualization. Okay, so we want to collect this data from here, Hadoop. But how do we get there? Hadoop is a file system. It stores the data in the files. So how do we manage to get it in a more better format, more like relational database model format, like tables, rows and columns? So for that we use another software, right? We are a part of which is part of the Hadoop ecosystem, we say. And what is that software we are using is, so essentially it's Hive, right? So we're going to use Hive in between. So so as I told you, you'll understand this, and then We'll go to the Hive. I will go to the data, and yeah, so what is Hive doing exactly in between? We could have taken the data, but that is more complex. Hive, the advantage is you can fire SQL queries. It is a SQL interface, to your HDFS system. So you can say select. When you say select, you can use select, SQL queries like select star from employees. But is employees or employee, is it a table or something? The real answer is no. Internally, HDFS stores everything as a file system, and this is very important. Whatever table is there is actually storing in a file system. So what is a file system? So file system is something like your file explorer, right? So when I say file system, now this file explorer is an example of a file system where there is a directories and files. So your HDFS is also storing everything in the same way. So it may create an employee folder. It has its own way of storing the the file, and there will be data files over here, data 1, data 2 file. These are all files. So this is a file system. But what Hive does is it goes and it reads all these files. It takes this query and converts it in rows and columns format. So when it returns, it will return maybe something like name, age, roll number, exactly just like a table, like your relational database model, which has database model is organized in form of tables, rows, columns, primary keys, asset properties, and so forth. That is your relational database model. So it gives you that kind of output. So Hive is on one end, on, let's say, on the left hand side, it will have the SQL interface, and on the right hand side it will have the code to deal with Hadoop. So it is constantly doing conversion between Hadoop system, Hadoop files, and SQL, and that is what the Hive is used. So from here we make a simple SQL connection to Hive, and then the Hive goes to data, and that's how we analyze it. So as the big data, from the big data perspective, a lot of data is getting stored over here. Petabytes of data is getting stored over here, which your normal relational database model have trouble managing. So you can use as many machines as you want, to store your data. So this manages the big data, and whatever analysis you want to do, visualization you want to do, you can do it through maybe a software called R Studio. That is what we're using in today's experiment. So Hive is created over Hadoop. So it will, it functions with Hadoop, you can say, and was created for Hadoop. So that this you could make SQL queries. You could fire SQL queries, and this would make life easier for the developers. So now that you have understood this, let's go back and see where we have. So this is 98%. So while this is happening, so now that you have understood what we are doing, so let us understand what are the steps you follow. First we have to start Hadoop. So this is a step. As I told you, nothing, ultimately it's all about Hadoop data. Then we start Hive, which is this command, and then we open your R Studio, and there's a ready-made program which I've written, so you don't have to write a program, it's already there in the machine. And then you verify the plot, and once this is working, okay, this is how we do a analysis, this is how we do visualization of Hadoop data. So the architecture is Hadoop plus Hive plus visualization. So it is very in a way it's a simple lab, and it does take time to get this installed, configured, running. So a lot of errors came up, but I resolved it, and this machine was created so that it becomes easier for you. You don't have to worry about all this configuration, installation. Just understand the concepts, and this is the main your main work, right? As a big data analyst, let's say you're doing a job, big data analyst, this is architecture you could use. So having said that, let's go back. So your visualization Hive R Lab is ready. So let's start the machine now. So let's give it some time to start. So here you see a switch coming, so make sure you click on that, and it will scale your screen to fit your monitor or your display size. So you will the advantage is you see the full screen. So let this machine start. Let's hold on for some time. Okay, so machine has started up. So let us the first thing that you want to do is open the terminal. So click on these 9 dots and the terminal option will come up, and open the terminal. This is like your command prompt window. So this is where we start all the processes. So as I told you, let us go back to the instruction. The first step is to start Hadoop. So that is what we are going to do. So if you do an ls directory, you should see Hadoop is already there installed. Your Hive is also there, and your RStudio is also there. So you can see RStudio over here. If you click on this dots, you see the RStudio is on the right hand side, right? So first but before we go there, let's clear the screen over here, and we start Hadoop. So we say start. Oops, sorry. Oops, why 3 S's are coming? Okay, is slow. D is D E O. So the computer is little some slow or what, I do not know, but kind of behaving slow. Okay, so we type this, and this should start your Hadoop. So let us give some time. So while it is starting up, so we go back to the diagram. So what are we doing now in this? So you see we are starting this part. After this will start this part, and after this will start we'll start this, and then we'll verify our visualization. So having done that, so this is still taking time, so let's wait. Okay, so we have almost everything has started. Name node, data node, resource manager, node manager. So everything has started. So now you can verify if everything is started by using the JPS command, right? So I've put it over here, JPS. It's a very small and simple command to see what all processes are running. So if you type JPS, it will show you that it will give you the process number and the process name. So you see the name node is started, resource manager, data node. So everything is, the SDF is started, and your yarn is also started. So now that we have started this, we start Hive, right? So Hive, so if you have a look at what is the command, it's Hive space dash dash service space Hive server 2 space ampersand. So let us go ahead and type that. So this is starting up Hive. So let's wait. So the way we come to know whether Hive is started is we see two session statements. So you'll see two session IDs been created, so it will soon come up. So you see one session ID has been created. So we wait for, so this is the one session ID over here. So we wait for one more session ID. So let's okay, so it does take time, a minute or so to start. The second session ID started, so this means your Hive is started, and you just leave this process going on. Don't touch this window anymore. So now that our Hive is started, we go back to the diagram, right? As I told you, the second part is started, so this connection has been made now, and now we run the analysis script and we visualize through RStudio. So let's and how do we start RStudio? We go back into a lab exercise and we click the 9 dots, and we click RStudio, not R. Okay, this is a R, but this is R shell, but we have to open RStudio. This is a development environment. So let the RStudio open up. Let's wait. Okay, so RStudio is loading up. My computer is little slow, that's why this is taking time. Okay, so as soon as you see, as soon as your, what is this, not available, no, I don't want to ignore this update. So what you want to do is you want to actually test Hive R test2.r. You see this? So I've already written the script. So and what does the script do? It's to understand. So like this is a library, ODBC library, which is almost like your database connector. So you use this line number 4, and I've already created a HiveDB connection, which actually connects to Hive, and Hive is configured with Hadoop. So connecting to Hive is equal to connecting to Hadoop. And once I get the connection, what do? I use this connection in the SQL query. You see this? Over here, connection. And what query do I fire? I fire select ID image salary from my database dot my table. So though I'm firing a SQL query, it is getting converted into MapReduce job, and that MapReduce job is running in Hadoop. So and that goes in the file system, collects your data and converts it back into table, rows and column, and gives you. Once you get the rows, the data is stored in employees data variable, and then you view them and you close the connection because you don't need it, and you print it. Right? So let us and what do you do with the data set then? So here there is a data set which we are trying to plot a graph. So we are doing some analysis on that, and we are trying to do a bar graph. On the x-axis we have employee ID, and on the y-axis we have salary. You can see this over here. So these are the salaries of different employees, right? So once we have done that, okay, where are we? Why we are using name over here? So this is ID, right? It's ID versus salary, employee ID. And then we try to plot another graph, which is a line graph. My table or let's say we use names itself. Okay, so let's give it as name itself. So it will print name versus salary. So in that case, this should actually be name then, right? Employee name versus salary. So let's give that, and this is a line graph which is printing the age and the salary, and this is plotting another graph which is plotting, it's the same line graph but with different parameters. So this is a little bit of R, where you in both cases you're drawing a line graph, but it plots it in a different way, so that you'll come to know. So now that we have understood the code, it makes a connection to the database, gets the data into a data set, and then uses a plot functions to plot the graph and see the results. So let us select all. Control A will select all the commands and simply click run, and you see down it will execute one command after the other. So while this is running, actually you can go behind and check what is happening in the. So can we look at the Hive? Ideally this command should come to Hive session, so you should see something over here. It's firing a SQL query. So you see the my database and my table columns, name, ID, salary, age has come up. So you see this thing has been fired. And here we have the output. You wanted to print and view the output, so here you have my table.id. The entire table is, so there were 3 rows, and on the right hand side you see a plot of age versus salary. This is your line graph, and if you click this arrow key over here, you'll see the previous plot. So there are other plots. So this is one of your another line graph. So 2 line graphs we had plotted, and this is your bar graph where we had plotted name versus salary. So so this is the way we visualize big data, we analyze big data, we run ML program on big data. So on one end Hadoop manages the big data, on the other end we use RStudio to visualize, and we use Hive to make make a life easy by firing simple SQL queries, right? That's how it makes a life easier. And this kind of architecture can be used in your companies, or whenever you're going for a job, you can tell them about what kind of architecture you used in your lab, and it will help you get a job. So that's all. It's a very simple lab. That's all for it. So that's it. Thank you very much.